You didn't click on this video by accident. Something in you is tired. Not just of her or them, but of the entire game. You've had enough of being told that your pain doesn't matter, that your confusion is weakness, that your love was too much. And the moment you begin to see clearly, the world suddenly goes quiet. That's the cost of lucidity. It's not applause, it's isolation. And yeah, the critics show up fast. Not just the usual suspects. It's not just women either. It's men too. Men who still shave their faces but refuse to grow a spine. Men who flinch the second psychoanalysis speaks. They ask, who are you to say what a red flag woman is? Simple answer, we don't speak from outside. We speak from inside. Inside the structure, inside the patterns, inside the pain you've lived. Not just observed. This isn't opinion. This is repetition. Repetition of what happens again and again when a man mistakes hysteria for depth, chaos for passion, and guilt for love. You want the truth emotionally. Blind men get hurt the worst. Why? Because they still believe in the story. They still try to love pain, hoping pain will turn into something else. They try to call it freedom, when it's really manipulation. They call it personality, when it's a symptom. They dress it up in words like strong, wild, free, and then wonder why their heart ends up in pieces. Here's the difference: we don't romanticize trauma. We interpret it, because if you don't interpret it, it interprets you. It repeats itself, and you already know that. You were that guy once. You tried to fix her. You tried to carry her pain. And in the end, it was you who broke. This video isn't about saving her. It's about saving you. Before you keep repeating the cycle, before you kneel again to someone who doesn't want love, they want control. She doesn't want a partner, she wants an audience. She doesn't crave connection, she craves domination. And if you don't know how the structure works, she'll smile while taking everything from you. Here's the hard truth. We're not here to be liked. We're here to say what everyone else is too afraid to admit, because under all that authenticity, all that empowerment, lies something darker, unresolved resentment, narcissistic injury, and yes, sometimes, a twisted satisfaction in watching a man collapse just so she can feel powerful again. You keep calling that empowerment, keep doing it, but when it's your soul on the line, when you're emotionally bankrupt and spiritually depleted, remember, nobody told you the price. This channel, it's not a support group, it's a totem, a place for men who've had enough, who loved hard, got punished for it, and came here not to cry, but to understand. There's no whining here. There's psychoanalysis, there's symbolic clarity, there's structure. If what I say makes you uncomfortable, good. That discomfort might just be your first glimpse of freedom. Let's start where it all begins, the first psychic structure of the red flag woman. 1. Seduction as symbolic punishment. You thought she was flirting, she was testing. You thought she wanted to be admired. She wanted to subjugate. Every move, every look, every word, it's a chess match. And you're the pawn. Seduction, for this woman, isn't about desire, it's about power. That low-cut dress, that half smile, that Instagram caption that makes your pulse jump. None of it's spontaneous. It's strategy. It's dominance disguised as charm. She learned early being desired means being in control, and she turned it into an art. There's no vulnerability here, just calculation. Every compliment you give is filed away, tallied up like a currency, and later that currency becomes emotional debt. You're paying in compliments, attention, gifts. She's collecting interest in contempt, coldness, and guilt trips. A red flag woman doesn't want a relationship. She wants a stage. She doesn't want to love. She wants to win. And when you walk into her world thinking it's a fair game, you quickly realize you're not the co-star. You're the audience, the applause, the funding. Seduction here isn't a bridge to intimacy. It's a leash. Every kiss is a contract. Every good morning text is a test. The more you give, the more you owe. And if you ever try to pull back, if you try to walk away, suddenly she becomes a saint, a victim. How could you do this to me, she'll say. She doesn't even need to like you. It's enough that you like her. That's not love. That's narcissistic fuel. This entire structure has nothing to do with affection. It's performance, power play. She needs to feel adored to feel alive. And when that adoration stops, she doesn't reflect. She retaliates. You thought you were entering a relationship, but you were cast in a role. You were the emotional servant, the love-struck fool, the man who pays in soul and in swipe. And worst of all, she knew it from the beginning. 2. The performance of autonomy. She chants it like a mantra, I'm independent. I don't need a man. But behind the slogans, behind the quotes, behind the glow-up reels, there's a truth no one wants to admit. What she calls freedom is often just fear. She's not afraid of being controlled. She's afraid of being seen. Seen in the soft places, the broken places, the part of her still stuck in an emotional childhood. She builds an image strong, untouchable, above it all, but her emotional world still demanding, still chaotic, still immature. She wants the gestures of love without the burden of giving it back. She wants loyalty without vulnerability, attention without accountability. She says, I'm enough for myself. But inside she's starving for something she doesn't know how to name. And when you try to offer real affection, real presence, she resents you for it. She treats sincere love like an attack. Because in her mind, love that she can't control must be dangerous. So she pushes, she mocks, she creates distance, all to protect the performance, the strong, independent persona that keeps her from having to change. You thought you met a woman with boundaries, but really, you met a woman in armor. And if you fall for that armor, if you worship it, she'll let you. But the moment you try to reach beyond it, she'll punish you, because in her eyes, you're not a man. You're an invader. She doesn't want partnership. She wants sovereignty. And love, real love, requires surrender, requires reciprocity, requires the exact thing she swore she'd never do, trust someone else. That's why she says she wants love, but sabotages it when it arrives. That's why she posts about independence, but quietly demands your constant attention. She's not looking for connection, she's fighting to maintain her script. And if you try to rewrite that script, you become the enemy. 3. Destructive repetition disguised as romance. She says, I just want something calm. I'm done with drama. Then why does every relationship she chooses look like the same burning building? Because peace horrifies her. Silence exposes her. Stability is the mirror she spent her whole life avoiding. So, instead, she seeks men who guarantee chaos, the distant guy, the cold guy, the already attached guy, each one a perfect stage partner for the only play she knows hurt me so I can feel alive. Here's the twist when a good man walks in when he actually texts back, brings soup when she's sick, remembers her birthday, she panics. She calls him too nice, too available, boring. She'll sabotage it, ghost him, or pick a pointless fight just to feel the familiar adrenaline of uncertainty. Why? Because deep down, she's addicted to the roller coaster. The high of being chased, the low of being ignored, the rush of making up. Predictability feels like suffocation. Drama is the IV drip that keeps her ego buzzing. So the cycle repeats: attraction, intensity, explosion, ashes. Each time she tells herself the next guy will be different. But it isn't chance, it's circuitry. A trauma-written script that keeps rerunning until someone finally refuses to act it out. If you're that someone, if you try to offer steady love, you become a threat to the narrative. Your calm reveals her chaos. Your consistency shines a light on her inconsistency. And nobody hates the spotlight more than the person hiding their own mess. So she lashes out. She accuses you of not caring. Even as you're pouring care all over the relationship, she says she wants honesty, then punishes you when you give it. She claims she wants protection, then brands you controlling the moment you draw a boundary. Because the real need isn't connection, it's confirmation. Confirmation that love equals pain, that men abandon, that happiness never lasts. And if you won't provide that confirmation, she'll create it. She'll pick the fight, push the buttons, provoke the reaction. She needs proof that her worldview is right, even if it destroys both of you. Reality check, you can't outlove a script that was written before you arrived. The faster you recognize that, the faster you stop offering your sanity as a sacrificial gift. 4. Turning the boyfriend into a substitute father. Here's the piece most men miss. She isn't really dating you, she's auditioning you for a part her dad left vacant. Maybe he was gone. Maybe he was unpredictable. Maybe he simply never drew a line. Whatever the story, the result is the same. She's hunting for a man who feels like unlimited permission. So at first she tests subtle jabs, tiny contradictions, small requests that violate your boundaries. She's not looking for partnership. She's looking for proof that you'll bend, that you'll be the father who never said no. Pass those tests and the demands escalate. Her needs expand, her crises multiply, her expectations balloon. If you hesitate, you're weak. If you comply, she loses respect. It's a no-win loop because the role itself is broken. She wants total safety and zero authority in the same person. Impossible. When the weight finally crushes you when you set a limit or simply collapse under the emotional load, she flips the narrative. You failed me, just like he did. That ache in your chest, that's the guilt of a burden that was never yours. You weren't her partner, you were collateral in an unresolved childhood war. Listen carefully, you are not a father figure, a therapist, or a miracle band-aid for wounds you didn't cause. Mature love happens between adults. The moment you're cast as dad, step off the stage, because staying means spiritual bankruptcy, paying infinite emotional debt on a credit card you never opened. 5. Weaponized sexuality when the body becomes currency. She learned early that attention is addictive and her body is the shortcut. Scroll her feed endless selfies, strategic angles, captions preaching self-love while fishing for external validation. Every like is a micro dose of power. In person, it's no different. Outfit calibrated to provoke, touch timed for maximum effect. Retreat executed the second you reach for something genuine. She says it's liberation, really, it's leverage. Sensuality isn't intimacy, it's negotiation. Here's how the trade works. She offers fantasy, you offer devotion. She flashes allure, you flash your wallet, your calendar, your emotional bandwidth. But the moment you ask for depth beyond the surface, how was your day really? What do you feel the shutters slam down? She calls you needy, possessive, patriarchal, any label that lets her keep the performance going without stepping into vulnerability. Because true intimacy requires the one thing she guards with her life, authentic self. And authentic self doesn't trend, it trembles, it asks, it gives, it risks. She'd rather risk nothing and blame you for wanting something real. Jealousy is proof she's desired. Distance is bait to pull you closer. More skin, half apologies. Cryptic stories designed to make you wonder who she's with tonight. Every move engineered to keep you spinning. You think you're building a connection. She's counting how many spins till you drop. And when you finally wobble, when your resentment catches up, she'll say, "You only wanted me for my body." Classic reversal. She offered an image. You engaged the image. Now you're guilty for touching the cardboard cutout she held between you the whole time. Wake up, you weren't in love. You were in a marketing funnel. The product was her image, and the cost was your peace. 6. Moral victimhood as an infinite shield. Ever notice how the story always ends with her winning the sympathy vote, breakup tweets framed like epic betrayals, friend circles nodding along, comments flooding in, "How could he? You deserve better." That's no accident. Victimhood is the last fortress. As long as she's the wounded party, she never has to reflect. She never has to own her choices. Accountability dies the second pity is weaponized. So every disagreement becomes your fault. Your jealousy, your silence, your fatigue proof you're the villain. She'll cry without tears, apologize without change, promise without follow-through, and the audience claps because the narrative is rigged. Hysteria isn't loud anymore. It's subtle, stylish, Instagrammable, and you, if you're not careful, become the disposable antagonist in her highlight reel. Look back on your past relationships who walked away holding the sympathy of the crowd, who kept the friend group, the social media narrative, maybe even the apartment and the dog. That pattern you see, it isn't coincidence, it's structure, your exit strategy. So what now? Rage online? Throw all women into the same bucket? That's just another trap. The point isn't bitterness, it's clarity. Once you see the script, you don't audition. Once you spot the stage lights, you step out of the spotlight. You reclaim boundaries. You stop mistaking adrenaline for affection. You remember that your love is valuable and it belongs in a place where it can actually grow. Pay attention to consistency over chemistry. Watch for how quickly your no is respected. Listen to how she talks about past partners, villains, or teachers. Notice if her independence is practiced or just posted. And most important, trust the tension in your gut. It's your psyche saying, "This feels familiar, run." You are allowed to leave the theater. You don't owe your sanity to anyone's unresolved trauma. And when the next performance starts, you'll hear the lines from a mile away and keep walking. You made it this far. That alone says something, because most men never do. They stop at the smile, the charm, the chaos that feels like passion. They mistake guilt for love, trauma for depth, performance for authenticity. And by the time they realize the cost, it's too late. They're emotionally broke, spiritually drained, and haunted by a single question. What did I do wrong? But now you know. You weren't chosen. You were summoned. Summoned to fill a role in a script that had nothing to do with you. A script rehearsed long before you met her. One that always ends the same way. You shattered. Her adored. You confused the performance for the person. You thought you were building something, but you were being fed just enough attention to keep you hooked and just enough silence to keep you unsure. And let's be clear, this isn't about hating women. It's not about revenge, bitterness, or getting even. It's about truth, the symbolic truth, because beneath every red flag is a story that was never told, a trauma that was never processed, a mask that was never questioned. And if you don't see it for what it is, you'll keep falling into the same trap, again and again, calling it love when it's anything but. Let's talk about that final, brutal layer, the one most men never see until it's too late. 7. The goddess costume. When power replaces vulnerability. This woman isn't looking to connect, she's looking to be worshipped, not loved, not known. worshipped. She doesn't want to be touched, she wants to be idealized. And the more you kneel, the more distant she becomes. Because in her world, love only has value when it comes at a cost. And preferably, that cost is yours. Every compliment you give becomes proof of her worth. Every gift you offer becomes a tribute. She turns relationships into temples and demands that you enter barefoot, silent, head bowed. Any desire you express becomes a threat. Any boundary you set becomes a betrayal. Why? Because you dared to treat her as human, and she's worked too hard building the goddess mask to let it slip now. The scary part, she believes it. She believes that her value is tied to how many eyes are on her, how many men crave her, how many friends envy her. And if you try to see her really see her, she pulls away. Because to be seen is to be exposed. And she's spent a lifetime hiding behind the shimmer. You offer presence. She demands devotion. You offer honesty. She calls it disrespect. You offer love. She wants sacrifice. And the second you stop playing along, you're labeled toxic, insecure, weak. She weaponizes your sincerity and uses it to reinforce the story that she's the prize and you were never worthy of her in the first place. That's the tragedy. Not just that she plays the game, but that you bought a ticket thinking it was real. You believed in her softness, her stories, her sadness. You thought, maybe if I just stay long enough, she'll finally trust me. But you missed the pattern. She never steps off the stage. The relationship wasn't a partnership, it was a production. And you were cast as the fool who paid for it all. 8. Emotional alimony. The cost you keep paying. Even when it's over, it's not over. You think you're free. You block her number, delete the pictures, cut off contact. But somehow, she's still in you. Her voice echoes in your mind. Her moods taught your nervous system to flinch. Her games rewired how you experience trust. You carry the weight long after the goodbye, and that's no accident. Because the red flag woman doesn't just hurt you during the relationship, she builds a version of you that keeps bleeding even when she's gone. That's emotional alimony. You pay in doubt, in hesitation, in self-loathing. You question every future relationship. You hesitate to open up. You lose sleep wondering if maybe you were the problem. But you weren't. You were just the latest actor in a play that never ends. A play where the main character gets to be the heroine and the victim, and you get to walk off stage with emotional debt and no audience to clap for you. This is why clarity matters. Because clarity is how you stop paying. Clarity is how you look back at the wreckage and finally say, that wasn't love, that was illusion. Clarity is how you name what happened not just in therapy, not just to friends, but deep inside, in the place where it still hurts. You didn't fail. You just loved someone who only knew how to survive through performance, through manipulation, through projection. Someone who couldn't meet you where you were because they've never met themselves honestly. And once you see that, everything changes. You stop needing closure. You stop needing her to admit anything. You stop hoping she'll come back different. Because you understand now the face may change, but the structure doesn't. Not until she does the inner work, and most don't. Most just move on to the next man who mistakes chaos for charm and calls it chemistry. So what do you do now? You build a life where clarity is king. You stop responding to bait. You stop engaging with red flags. You develop a radar for emotional inconsistency and learn to trust it, even when the world tells you to ignore it. You reclaim the part of yourself that used to bend, to chase, to apologize for feeling too much. And you remember your love is not the problem. It never was. What you need now isn't another performance, it's a person. A woman who doesn't need to be worshipped to feel worthy. A woman who doesn't treat honesty like an attack. A woman who doesn't sabotage love just to feel in control. And yes, she exists. But you won't find her by bleeding out in the front row of someone else's play. You find her when you step away from the stage completely, when you stop mistaking guilt for goodness, when you stop calling emotional pain passion, when you finally realize the most dangerous woman is not the loud one, the angry one, or even the seductive one. It's the one who never takes off the mask, because she's not just hiding from you, she's hiding from herself. And the longer you stay, the more you become her mirror. So shatter it, walk, rebuild, and when the next red flag shows up wrapped in lace, whispering, "I'm not like the others," you'll smile, not bitter, not angry, just awake. Because once you see the script, you don't act in it again, ever.